Hi everyone, today we're going to have a look at this Lian unifan known as the P28. Now I just want to have a deeper look on what these fans are capable of, the build structure, the connection points and such. With this said, I'd like to thank Lian to have provided these fans for me to share with you guys, and to Block Soda to have done the arrangement on the delivery. Let's begin. These fans come with two color variants, the black and white, and in the form of 3-pack set. The ones that I'm having is the 3-pack set. It does have the individual package. Now, inside this 3-pack set itself, it comes with these accessories, whereby you have the instruction manual, a controller, which allows you to toggle low, mid, and high based on the fan specification, as you can see over here, which I'm going to illustrate later. Next will be 3 nicely sleeved fan cables, which are meant for the 4-pin PWM connectors to your motherboard, and the other end to the fans itself. A bridging cable, I will illustrate to you how to use this, and 3-pack of fan screws, which is meant for you to mount your fans onto the case itself. If you are getting the 3-pack white fans, the accessories are of the same. The only difference are the sleeving on the cables itself. As you can see, it's all white. Now, if you are to purchase a individual pack fan itself, the accessories will be different. You'll be ushered with an instruction manual, 1 pack of fan screw, which is total of 4, and only comes with a sleeve 4-pin PWM fan connector. That's all you will get in a single pack, and it does not come with the controller. For the fan structure itself, it's very sturdy. It doesn't wobble. It's like a solid brick. And take note that the fan blade itself is made out of a material known as liquid crystal polymer, which is similar on the T30 on Fantex. But one thing good about what Lian have done, now if you take a look at the color itself, right, this is gunmetal. They have deliberately done the coloration on the blades itself, whereby it matches, see? So it gives a metallic black kind of feel. And for the white, praises to them. Now, for liquid crystal polymer itself, right, the material, it's pretty hard to match the color. In fact, if you were to dye white, right, it will just give a tinted gray. But look at the color on the white of what Lian have done. It's identical to white, which matches the frame itself. Another thing to take note is that these are 9 bladers, whereby it will definitely draw a lot of air to your radiator or to your case itself. And the gap between the blade, okay, you can see here, the blade to the frame itself, this is 6mm. So no compromises, whereby it will stretch and to scoop the air through. Now, be it the front or the back itself, as all 4 corners are ushered with anti-vibration rubber grommets, be it the front or the back. Next, as you can see, it's just like other Unifan family. They have this very nice aluminium frame over here. Now, something to take note about the dimension itself, though it's stated as 120mm fans, if I were to do the measurements right, okay, not the frame, but from here to here, oops, it is 120mm. But from the frame over here to here, right, even if I were to remove off, which I'm going to show you later, is at 124. As I mentioned to you, the dimension on the fans itself, the width, now one side is 120mm, which is no problem, but the ones with the aluminum strip, it's measuring at 124mm. So as you can see, right, this is mounted on an actual radiator. There is a gap, as in like protruding out. So taking on this, not very much. In most cases, you still can fit, not a problem. But when you come to the add-on, which I'm going to talk about it later, which are this ARGB strips, you can remove off the frame at the side and to replace with the ARGB strips. And when you add this, right, this add on more height, as in like more width, and you will protrude out even further. So for those of you who is doing an ITX case itself, right, be it you are using it on an AIO or fitting into the 120mm location, take note on the width itself. You might not be able to fit in your case. As how to connect these fans to your motherboard itself, if you are mounting only just one fan, for example, this is the rear fan itself, take the sleeve cable, which is the 4-pin PWM connector, where here one end, this is meant either to the controller or directly to the motherboard. Now, the connection point is pretty straightforward. As you can see, this end over here, this is an L shape, whereby this, right, without the pin itself over here, this is to cover the pin on the fan itself. So let me just show you. See, as mentioned, the pin to here, to this socket, and this cover, right, the L-shaped covering is to cover the pin. So if you were to plug this in, right, you will be like this. And one thing good about this connection point here, right, is different from the past Unifans, as in this cable are flexible. As you can see, you can swivel either end. So be it whether you place, for example, let's say this is the top. So if you to place the fan this way, right, as in like to draw in cool air, you can just, you know, swivel the cable to the back, which is near to your motherboard. Or to be this way, you can swivel and this cable towards your motherboard itself. Now for interconnection point itself, right, as I mentioned, these fans here are ushered with all this individual sleeving cables. You can control them individually. In the event if you want to daisy chain them and just to connect to one cable, you can, not a problem. All you need, right, make sure that your fans are facing of the same direction. You can't do daisy chain as in like interlock the, okay, probably I'll show you the interlock. So having the direction facing the same, whereby you see the fan frame here, right, see it's of the same direction. This is intake and this is the bank. So as mentioned, having the same orientation, all you need to do is just to connect these clips to the next fan socket over here. So align them, okay, and slot in. And this will be interconnected, whereby you use only one cable, which is to your controller or the motherboard. Same goes to the third one if you wish to do so. See? So this is interconnector, as in like having 3 in one daisy chain without any cables, but leaving the other end, right, with only one cable to your controller or to your motherboard header. If you're mounting this on the radiator itself and you find that these clips over here, right, are obstructing, you can remove them. But when you remove them, please do not lose this clip, because these are the clips that allows you to daisy chain the fans. So at all times, if you were to remove this due to some reason, maybe your radiator hose is, you know, hitting this clip itself, right, you can just remove it. But at all times, please retain these clips. Do not lose them. If you lose them, right, you can't do daisy chain between fans. So that is something that you need to take note. Another thing good about this fans here, right, Lian have thought about it, whereby if you to mount this on radiator, right, as this is 28mm thick, so you might be thinking that, oh, I need longer screws. No, you can make use of the original screws coming from your liquid AIO. Reason being, right, if you see, okay, probably I'll show you the white ones. If you can see the screw holes, right, is indented as in like, see, if I were to insert the radiator screw, this is the radiator screw, it flushes. It's like it goes in, countersunk in. See? So this make a neat touch when you mount it on the radiator, right? The screws are not protruding out. It flushes. And you don't have to worry that you will need longer screws due to the thickness. So this is one thing good about it. Next will be the bridging cable itself. As you can see here, right, I have daisy chain 3 white fans, 3 black fans, each having its own connection point at the end where you connect either to the controller or to the motherboard. Same goes to the black fans. Now in the event if you wanted to daisy chain all together, as in like probably this is the front fan and this is the top fans, you can do that too. So having just one connection point to your motherboard or controller, the fan controller, what you need to do is to make use of this bridging cable. Now how to make use of this bridging cable, whereby this end you leave it, this is for you to connect to your controller and motherboard. Then over at this end over here, remove off this clip. Okay, then with this bridging cable, right, this thick thing here, you can just put it in. Let me just see that. Oh, this way, and to clip it. So once this is secured, right, followed by the chain at this end, whereby the other set of the fans itself, remove off this and to connect this on. So by doing so, right, you are in fact daisy chaining 6 fans together, as you can see over here. See? So you're daisy chaining just having one input, which is the current supplying the fans. Now when you are doing this, right, as in like daisy chaining all the 6 fans together, right, please check your motherboard fan headers. If it is rated 2 ampere, you are good to go. But if it's rated 1 ampere, I wouldn't advise you to do 6 fans together and to plug to your motherboard fan header, as each fan I tested out with a multimeter, the max, if you are setting in a high profile of 2600, right, is going to run at 0.25 ampere. So when you total up all this, right, it's going to go above 1 ampere. And if your motherboard is 1 ampere, I mean the fan header, then please do not practice this. Unless your motherboard is 2 ampere, then you'll be able to do 6. But at all times, safe practice, I would advise, be whether 1 ampere or 2 ampere, just set it as 3 fans to 1 fan connector on your motherboard, on the safer side. Now speaking of which, right, I'd like to talk about the controller itself. Okay, let me just dismount this. Now for this fan controller itself, right, how it works is, if you want to have a max profile of 2600 RPM, you can connect this directly to your motherboard, not an issue. So when you do the fan curve itself, right, when you set it at 100% RPM, it will run max at 2600. Now if you wouldn't want to run at 2600, let's say you want to run at 2200, or maybe at, okay, I would say 1300 RPM, the lowest, make use of the controller, whereby if you connect this to the controller from your fans to this controller over here, click on this button over here that goes all the way to L, which is low profile. Then of course this must be plugged to your motherboard first, then you toggle it to low, which has a LED indicator over here. So at all times, right, this fan max speed will be set at 1300. So on your fan curve in your UEFI or your motherboard utility itself, even if you set 100% load of the fan, due to the fact that you have controlled using this controller that's set on low, the max speed will be 1300. It will not go more than that, unless you set it to high from here. Okay, then it will have a profile of 2600 RPM, which means to say on your motherboard, when you trigger 100% load, it will be 2600. So this is the function of the controller itself. Besides this, right, now you might feel this is kind of like flimsy. Well, another bonus point, this controller is magnetic. Let me just show you. So when you plug this controller from the fan cable itself, which is this, which is of course to your fan, then the other end to the controller. Then this is your motherboard. This is dangling, right? Do not worry. You can magnet to your case. See, it's magnetic. So this will stop it from shifting or moving, you know. So it's a nice touch. As these fans are not ARGB with the strips itself, but it does come with an additional pack which you can purchase separately, known as the side ARGB kit. And this kit itself, right, in the box, it contains 3 strips, the cables over here, and the center cover of each strip, as you can see here. So this is to cover up the connection point. Now to use this, I will show you right now. First of all, you will need to remove off the frame, the side frame from the fans itself. And on the instruction manual, right, it was said that to pry this area over here where you have a grooving. So you do that and this will come off. Now I have tried doing on the other end, but it's kind of like difficult, and I find that when you do this, right, on the other end, one end is open, and on the other end, when you try to pry it, right, it might break the center. So I found another method which is much easier. So since this is open, leaving you a gap over here, you can just place your fingernails in and to push it out. See, it's quite easy. Do it on the other side, and the frame is out. Now both ends you're able to remove, and take note on the strips itself. On this add-on kit, it only comes with 3, and I know why. The reason they have done 3, because when you place this in a case itself, right, you only see one side. You don't need to actually have the other side to be on. But if you wanted both sides to have strips, then you will need to purchase a additional set, because one set only comes with 3 strips. So imagine that you got 3 fans, right? You will need 6 strips. So as mentioned, another package. Now to feeder with these strips to the fan itself, which I remove off from this 2 fan and this to be daisy chain, you will need to know the orientation of how the cabling is like. Now I'll start off with the fans itself. As you know that this is meant for your fan load. Okay. Then the orientation of the strips itself, right? Okay, let me just daisy chain this. Now okay, something to take note. I've done a wrong illustration over here. As you can see, the direction of the fan blade and the frame, right, is opposite. So you can't do daisy chain this way. Do not force in. You're going to damage the clip. So make sure they are of the same direction. See? Then clip it on. Now having to say this, right, you want to clip the strips, the ARGB strips on this frame over here, where you have this end with the wiring. Make sure you know the orientation. Now as for the orientation, right, it's always this way, as in like white, black, white, black, white, and followed by black. Now the white is in fact input, as in like your ARGB current and your signal will go through here, and this is out to another. So make sure you have this orientation correct. And when you're mounting to the frame itself, right, okay, assuming this is the cable where you connect over here, this is very important, as in like, okay, this connector here, right, where it goes to your either to your Unifan Sync 1 or Sync 2. With all the Unifan B2 version, you have this Sync 2 and Sync 4. So you can connect this to that on your Unifan controller, or there is an adapter over here whereby you can clip this, because this connector is only meant for the Unifan controllers. You can't plug this directly to your motherboard. if you want to plug this directly to your motherboard, you need this converter, which comes in this add-on kit, whereby once you have connected this right at the other end, it's a standard 5V 3-pin ARGB connector. So having to say this right, this is in fact, okay, from here, this is where you connect it to the motherboard ARGB, where it pushes all the signal, which is in here and to out here. So this is the input at the white socket. Plug this in. So once you know the orientation, right, as I mentioned, when you plug to the fans itself, make sure that the cables are together. If you were to orientate the other way around, right, you still can clip, but the problem is your cables, right, your fan load cables and your ARGB cables are of a different direction, and you might have some problem doing cable management. So make sure they are of the same direction. And when you want to clip this strips onto the frame itself, right, make sure you do it consecutively. Do not do it individually, because when you do it individually, you will be having a problem to plug this cover to cover up your socket over here. So I would advise it in a way to do the strips first. Once you know the orientation, like right now what I'm showing you, clip onto this clip. Now for this clip, right, it only goes in one direction. If you find that when you plug it in, right, it doesn't go in, do not force it in. Turn the direction 180 degree, then you'll be able to slot in, and from there you clip on to the second one. See, easily done. And this is flush. Again, to the next strip, using this, plug it in. Alright, just to show you, if you were to do it in the wrong direction, right, I mean on the clip itself, right, no matter how you push, right, it will not go in. Okay, so make sure that to slot it correctly, and you should fit in easily without any, I mean just a little force. Clip it to the third one, and the last one to cover up this gap, there's this single clip cover, so just clip it in. Once you've done this, right, on a flat surface, see what I'm trying to do is just to press everything flat, then go to your fan, okay, align to the grooves, and to clip it on. See, this is done. And of course you apply to the second side. Now when applying these strips on the fan itself, right, take note. See, this is the original frame, which is clipped. See the thickness? It does come out a certain thickness. Probably I'll show you the measurements. So assuming that you only have one side ARGB strips, so from the end over here all the way to here, right, it's about 128 millimeter thick. So imagine that if you were to do another set over here, it's gonna be like 130. Okay, so if you were to place two, right, take note, if you are building on an ITX case itself, especially for those designated 120mm fan slot, right, you might have a problem to fit in the fan. So take note on the width itself when you're applying the ARGB strips. As this is a single strip, you will have a connector at the end where you connect either to your Unifan controller or to the motherboard ARGB header. Now if you have two sets of fans whereby you have two connection point, okay, similar. Now if your motherboard only have one, what will you do? In the add-on package of this strips itself, right, it does have a bridge cable, which I'm going to show you over here. So this you can bridge from one set of fan to another set, which I'm going to show you over here. So take note, this is just one connection point to your motherboard. Then at the other end, do the bridge with this bridging cable so that you can connect to the next fan. See? So all in all, right, it's just one set with the other end just one connection point for the ARGB, so we can bridge on, not an issue. Something to highlight: if you want to remove the strips off from the fans itself, when it's in daisy chain, right, do not unclip it, you know, just like pull it off, because you will break the center portion where the cover is, or even to damage the clip itself. Always do it as in like removing the whole fan. Now looking at the orientation, right, this is the fan frame. Place this towards you, the fan blade towards you, and the direction of pushing, right, to unlock the daisy chain, this is going upwards, this is going downwards, right? So having this orientation, so you can easily just push it, see, and it unclips off from the center portion. Instead of, when this is together, right, instead of pulling this off, as in like the whole clip off, right, as you pull it off, it might bend and to break. So again, make sure this is not facing you. Instead, the blade is facing you. Where you push this down, see, it will just detach easily. Then from there, you can remove off the clip and to remove off the strips, which is quite kind of tight over here, so you need to apply a bit of force, but do not apply too much that you break the frame itself. See, it does come out, and apply to the same at the back. So this is done. An illustration on the ARGB strips, which are the add-ons to this P28 fans. Take a look at the color. They are very vibrant, and the diffusion made perfect. It's like you can't see the LEDs at all, and I'm amazed by the brightness. This is in fact the lowest setting. Let me just pump it to the highest. So as I pump to the highest, this is the highest. It is super bright, but it doesn't blind my eyes when it's at this bright. But of course, it's more advisable to run it at the lower setting, as you want the LED to last longer. So I will just tune it down. See, this is the lowest. Nice touch. I will be conducting the test, as in like the thermal results, with these fans on a Be Quiet Silent Loop 2 on this i13700K processor, and I will also be showing you the noise from low, mid and high. Now take a look at the microphone that I've set up over here. It's about 1 feet away from the radiator and the fans. Now this is at low speed, and if I were to toggle to medium, and this is at high. At low, at medium, and at high. For the thermal test itself, I'll be using all these components that is listed over here. First off, take note that this P28 fans are on a liquid cooler coming from Be Quiet, known as the Silent Loop 2, which is a 360 liquid AIO. Now, for the component, I'll be using a 13th Gen Intel Core i7 13700K on a ASUTEC ROG Strix B760F gaming Wi-Fi. And the RAMs I'm using, in fact, is a 32GB kit which is the Team Force ARGB Kit. Now, what I've actually done on the settings itself, I'll take you to advanced. Under AI Tweakle, first off, I've actually done the XMP profile that enables me to run the DDR5 at 6000 MHz with all this timing that you see over here. Then, due to the fact that Singapore is a very hot weather, in fact right now it is, and the room temperature is about 30 to 31 degrees Celsius, I have to limit down the wattage drawn. Reason being, right, if I don't limit it, right, at all times it will be seeing like 90 degrees or maybe 95 degrees Celsius, which is pretty high. So that's the reason I have kept it, as you can see here, to allow the processor to draw from the PSU at a 235 watt power drawage. And next we'll be having to do the offset. So as and when, though I have actually set it to 235 watt, as and when it needs that wattage, it will pull. So that's why I did the offset, which you can see over here. I've set the vCore voltage to 0.175 minus, okay, not plus. So as mentioned, it will draw whatever is needed in order to pump to 5 gigahertz. Now, next thing is actually the fans itself. As you can see, right, the fan, I'm only using one fan. One fan connector, since it's a open bench, and this will be at full speed. And of course, as you know, I show you that P28 have this controller that go low, mid and high. I will show you the 3 results based on what the settings are set over here. Now let me talk about the methodology on how I conduct the test, and I'm going to load to Windows. Now Windows have loaded. I'll take you and to show you what are the application that I will be using. First off, to show you all the stats, I'll be using the Valley benchmark. Okay, I do have this error here, just ignore it. So these are the stats that will be showing you while I'm doing the run itself. But of course, I will station this whole scenario thing here. Now, as you can see here at the stats, it will show you the CPU temperature. Right now it's at idle. Then the motherboard temperature, the VRM temperature, the DDR5's temperature, M.2 temperature, the call frequency, which is going to run. Right now it's actually running on the background. That's why it's at 5.2. And it will toggle up and down later when you look at the benchmark itself. And take a look at the power drawn here, right? This is very important because I've told you that are limited to 235 watt and with a offset settings on the vCore. So as and when the processor will draw accordingly to reach 5 gig. So this CPU power drawn, right, will not be at full on 235. I would say probably about 190 something. Then this is the most important part, whereby you take a look at the CPU fans. As mentioned, there's 3 settings. I will run at low, then followed by mid, and then followed by high. So from these 3, right, you will witness how the temperature is like for low setting, for mid, and for high. And the air pump, this is the pump rotation, which is max at 2800. Now I'll be using Cinebench R23 to conduct this test here. And of course, as usual, I will run first 10 minutes to let it settle down since it's newly built. Then once I've done that, right, I'll start conducting with the low settings of the fans, where you'll see here, right, you will be ramping up at 1300 RPM. Then followed by the mid test, which is running at 2200 RPM. And for the last set, which is the high, will be at 2600 RPM. Then from there, you can observe what's the temperature. Now I've skipped the 2 part whereby I run 2 times 10 minutes just to settle down the system itself, and have rested for 5 minutes before I conduct this test live to you. So what you're going to witness is when you look at the live feed of the camera, right now this is at low speed. So next, once after I conducted the 10 minutes, right, it will show you the results, the temperature and such. I will toggle the switch to medium for the fans to run at medium speed, and I will run the 10 minutes and it will show you the results again. Then from there, I'll toggle to the final one, which is the high speed, and to run another 10 minutes so that you can compare the consistency of the temperature itself. Let's begin. As you have witnessed throughout the whole run, be it low, mid or high speed of the fans itself, I have not touched the PC components at all, nor did I go into the UFEI to do any settings. The only thing I've touched is the fan controller that comes with the P28 fans. At low setting, which is running at a max of 1300 RPM, the CPU temperature is hovering at 74 degrees Celsius to 75 degrees Celsius. Else, when I toggle the switch to mid, which is running at 2200 RPM, the temperature is hovering around 73 to 74 degrees Celsius. And when I toggle the switch further to high, which is running at 2600 RPM, the temperature is hovering 72 to 73 degrees Celsius. You might be questioning, are these fans performing? My answer is yes, based on the fact that even from low to high, the drop is not drastic, it's about 2 to 3 degrees Celsius. But take a look at the rest of the component. If you were to use this as a case fan, as you can see, this is a live feed whereby I purposely placed the intake of cool air through the radiator and to pass through my components. Take a look at the rest of the components temperature. It did lower down. This have proven that even through obstacle itself, right, the fan does push tons of air through. And imagine that if this is your case itself, right, it will definitely cool down the rest of your component. See, if you judge from low, mid and high, look at the temperature, like the motherboard itself, it drops by 1 degree every time when I toggle from low to mid and to high. Same goes to the VRM and the DDR5 and also the M.2s. So with this said, right, this fan definitely performed very well. Hope you guys have actually enjoyed what I've shared with you with this Lian P28 performance fans. And things that I like about it, well, as usual, daisy chain is unifan. And the thing is that it's as hard as a brick. It's like pretty hard. Another thing is the color itself. As mentioned earlier on, that the liquid crystal polymer, the color really matches, especially the white. Well done. And another good thing about this, in fact, is the fan controller that controls the low, mid and high. You can set as the setting. Now some fans have their switch on the fan itself, which I find that is kind of clumsy. If you want to set the fan instantly, right, you will need to reach out to the fan and to do the switches from low to mid to high. Else then you have actually done this switch whereby it's magnetic, as I showed you earlier, and you can just set on the go as what you have witnessed when I do the benchmark itself. And another thing add on is that I love this fan a lot. Reason being, it's not ARGB, as I personally do not really like ARGBs. But for those of you who want some touches of ARGB, right, you can buy this side ARGB kit. Now take note that one box contains only 3 strips, which is only enough to cover 3 frames over here. If you want to cover both frames at both sides, you will need to purchase 2 boxes. And speaking about all this frame itself, right, do note, as I mentioned, that probably the thickness of the frame from here to here, right, this is 124, and if you were to fit into the ITX case itself, not an issue, or maybe on Radiator itself. But when you are adding on to the side ARGB kit on both ends, right, it's going to protrude out even further. So take note on this, especially if you are doing this as a case fan on ITX cases itself, right. Take note on the width, as you might not be able to fit the fan into the case. With this said, I'd like to thank Lian to have provided all this equipment for me, and to Block Soda to have done the arrangement on deliveries. And for those of you who are actually new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.